Of all the crown jewels on the Integrity Racing League schedule, this race is unlike any other. In length, its challenge stands alone. 200 laps, 300 miles. And the Ignite Series has made this trip twice beforehand. For its third annual running, this is the Mini Coke 300. Welcome back to the Integrity Racing League for the 2025 Ignite Series. This is our 13th race of the 2025 season. And we are back in Concord, North Carolina. That's right, this is the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and we only have about 3 minutes and 35 seconds remaining to get the ball rolling live on FTN. More than 35 drivers have registered for our longest race of the season, and we've got ourselves, yes indeed, 300 miles on the table. I'll be your host for tonight's broadcast. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing. We're coming off the back of an Ethan Lane week sweep. He got the job done in the Ignite Series, and he did so in a challenging race. He did not lead the opening 30 laps, but came out dominant in the second part of the event, and then went on to win from flag to flag the night after in the Octane Series. That, of course, was Watkins Glen. Tonight, however, we return to the oval racing, and so far, Domination Intimidation Racing has a strong grip on the front row. Michael Stroll has the provisional pole position with times still to be taken by more than 20 drivers. Rob Ackley sits in second as he brings back his original paint scheme, this time with the new number 22. It currently is now the 55 of Ronnie Osmer, who runs in 7th. Hunter Madalenis will be in 9th. Blake Gordon rounds out the top 10 with Justin Morton, P11. Still many a lap to be taken. Nick Tarbuck gets right between his teammates at the front of the board. And you'll see now that's another big gain for the team DIR. They'll have themselves all of the best positions in order now. 1, 2, 3. Jack Drucker is in 4th, but for the time being, it appears that the team has the front 3 spots locked up. Thomas Bresci on the way now in the number 24, and you can see his laps are concluded. He is now 6th position. Cal Filarski with a strong qualifying run to get up to 18th here. With less than 2 minutes on the clock now, Filarski heads down to pit road, and Brandon Bernhardt is one of those still on track. Bernhardt currently sits in the 29th position as a result of his run. Steve Durham is now 36th and last of those with the time, and that's with a minute and 33 seconds left on the clock. Your defending race winner, Ethan Lane, is now on the track. Take a ride on board now with your defending race winner in both series in the Integrity Racing League. While Michael Araya goes up to the top of the timing charts, Ethan Lane's first lap puts him in 4th, and he's got one more now, and he's on it, looking to make it happen and make it another top spot in qualifying. Ethan now making his way through the 3rd and 4th corners. Sun will be setting all night long, and it's going to be a day-to-night race as Ethan Lane crosses the line. 29.998 is an improvement, and it's good for the front row, but not for the top of the board. It'll be Michael Araya who remains on top by 13 thousandths of a second. Subsequently, as Ethan Lane backs it down, it's going to be Dylan Poteet making his first start in the Integrity Racing League, going 22nd. Jared Davis is 40th as it stands with 16 seconds on the clock, and Elliot Henderson heads to pit road as he clocks in 25th. It looks like tonight a lighter crowd than the last few oval races at 45 drivers on the dot. Even still, one of the biggest fields we've seen at any mile and a half, and outright the biggest at Charlotte. And of all those drivers, Michael Araya goes quickest. His top time, a 29.986, is good for the pole position in the Mini Coke 300. Lariah and Ethan Lane go positions 1 and 2 and have themselves up in front. Now we've got ourselves a little bit of time, of course, with those final 5 minutes of practice and warm-up to get the field ready for the big show. Drivers get onto the racing circuit one more time, and the conditions you're seeing right now are a very most often cases later race that determines driver qualifies well in qualifying, it won't mean all too much. For the time being, anyhow, as drivers get back on the way, Ethan Lane, Michael Orion company, they're just setting some extra final practice laps, and these won't have much of an indicator on what is due to come. With qualifying now concluding, it's about time we get to learn who's who on your starting grid here in Charlotte. 300 miles calls for one of our biggest and, of course, most talented fields. Race in, race out. We've seen an immense level of talent in the opening 12 races, and this 13th, well, it calls for the exact same level of quality. And at the front row tonight, it's going to be another set of drivers we know very well from their Tuesday night endeavors. And that's going to be Michael Araya and Ethan Lane. Michael Araya, of course, the defending Octane Series champion, the number 44 inside of row number 1, 29.986. Takes the top spot. Ethan Lane just behind him with a 29.999, the only other driver to break into the sub-30-second barrier. Michael Stroll goes third, and Nick Tarbuck subsequently goes P4. And those two drivers for Domination Intimidation Racing. The final driver in the top 5 also racing for DIR tonight is Rob Ackley, and Jack Drucker goes P6. 7th place on the order, then from there will be Braxton DeWeese with Thomas Bresci 8th, Sam Nieto 9th, Matt Presson 10th, and Brent McClendon 11th. Ronnie Osmer rounds out the top dozen. 13th place on the order goes Tom Wetmore, and 14th is Jared Davis. Hunter Madalenas rounds out the top 15 with Blake Gordon 16th, Justin Morton 17th, and Matthew Thunelst in 18th. 19th and 20th, Vinny Tigner in the number 12, Jacob Fife in the number 36, and Nicholas Ward. Then beyond him will go 21st. Josh Christman is 22nd with Dylan Pote 23rd and Cal Filarski P24. Elliot Henderson is 25th, Gael Brooks 26th, Will Riker 27th, and Tyler Hensley 28th. With Boomer Logan and Brian McFerrin 29th and 30th as Casey Shue has himself 31st. Cody Smith is P32, Sebastian Miller is 33rd, 34th goes to Brandon Bernhardt, and Don Stevenson is in 35th. P36 and Josh Gallagher. And your final 4 qualifiers by time being 37th in Ryan Potter, Steve Durham in 38th, 39th in Adam Wood, and Daco Parco with the last time set on the board. Blake Cannon will start from the back of the field in 41st, and Kyle Cooper goes 42nd, with 43rd place on the starting grid being Andrew Hamilton. 44th, Daniel Foss, and the last man on the board, the number 86 of Andrew Schaub, 45th and riding shotgun on the field. It's a long haul tonight, 300 miles, and now 45 drivers have stepped up to the task. As per usual, only one driver can win, but it's going to take us a long time to figure out which of any will get the job done. Domination Intimidation Racing dominate the top 5, but it will be Michael Araya with the pole position today. Right now, Nick Tarbuck has the fastest time in warm-up, 30.036, and time is running out. Looks like very few drivers have set laps, only 13 of 45. Ackley on the way to the inside, and while for the majority of this year, he's been running that number 22 in orange with the Home Depot coloring, he brings back the original Horizon number 22 that he ran from the beginning of 2023 to the end of last season, 2024. This time around, it's got the brand new 22, as we mentioned, no longer the Richard Children font, but instead the Joe Gibbs Racing font, which is alluding, of course, to Tony Stewart in his early years with the team in the late 1990s, and that's where the Home Depot sponsorship comes from. Tarbuck's top time stands And the 29 lies alone at the warm-ups top spot. 30.036 would have been good for a top 10 position in qualifying, but his teammates just beat him to the punch. And of course, those old rivals from the Octane series are ready to do it again. Ethan Lane has the momentum. I think that is without a doubt. You look at the last few races, the last two, one from each series. He's won them both, and now it gives him a fair shot to get in the championship mixture to a degree that he hasn't been involved in so far. Not to say that Ethan Lane is slow, because he never is on the racing circuit, but overall, it's been a spotty start to his Integrity Racing League season, and that has been the biggest detrimental factor to his championship bid. A good night tonight really could solidify the work he put in last week, as right now, Ethan, when you look at the Integrity Racing League standings, he is very close to the championship lead on Tuesday nights. In the Ignite series, however, not so much. He's got a lot of work to do to put himself up there. When it comes to victories, he's got quite a few. He's got himself now 3, of course, but he's only 14th in the title picture by virtue of a very mediocre start to the season and a few races missed. So, if Ethan Lane is seriously going after a shot at both championships, tonight is going to be pivotal in whether or not he gets up to the top 10 in points before the regular season is over. Lane right now sits 4 points back on Don Stevenson, and he is about 32 points away from 10th in the championship standings. A win tonight could erase that deficit and maybe bring him further up. Lariah on the bottom, Lane on the top. With 300 laps on the table tonight, the Charlotte Motor Speedway begins with sunny skies, at least for now. Expect by the end of the first 100 laps for that to change, but currently track conditions are as mild as they come. Ambient temperature of 83 degrees Fahrenheit. The track temperature is 87 degrees. Winds are southwest bound at 3 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies, but the sun is shining through, which means it might be a little bit of a slicker circuit for the first half as compared to later on. Don't expect it to be any easier to catch up to Lariah and Lane just because the track cools down. It might play into their advantage, and they might become even more confident. Domination, intimidation racing, of course, with a remarkable qualifying effort, taking 3rd through 5th. But it's all Michael Lariah now as he looks to solidify himself at the top of the Ignite Series standings. Lariah gets things going and brings us to green. Welcome back to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We're underway in the Mini Coke 300. As they run 2 laps in out of 200. Just got things started, and it's only going to be a side-by-side battle to the very front of the field. Michael Lariah on the bottom, Ethan Lane on top, and there's so much more time from here that these battles early on, the formative moments of this race, they really are not going to matter to the end picture. While exciting to watch without a doubt, Ethan Lane now surging on the high side, the bigger question becomes who's got it made for the later stage of this race. Thomas Bresci up on the top, and as he usually does for our Charlotte Motor Speedway races, looking a little bit different. Exalta Chevrolet still with the same sponsorship, but not the same colors. It is red, white, and blue, full on for the Bresci machine. He's previously brought out this red, white, and blue paint scheme for international races, and he's done so to great success, including our previous trips to Nürburgring, and in addition, our trip to Monza. So right now, Thomas Bresci back to the All-American look at America's Home for Racing. And Bresci currently runs 5th on the lineup. Nick Tarbuck is going to be P4. Michael Stroll is in third. Michael looking to get that shot in the arm to pull his season up further. Not to say that he needs to pull it fully back together, but right now that number 3 team. It's been strong historically, and it is not at all a bad effort he's put in so far, but the championship ladder is a lot different this season. And for Michael Stroll to contend up in front, he's going to need to continue putting that work in. As it stands, he is 18th in the championship points. He lost 5 positions last week in Watkins Glen from 13th. And the big thing is getting a rebound race tonight. Michael, of course, having the qualifying position to do so. It sets him up pretty well. Now, it just comes down to executing on what he has to begin with. Brent McClendon to the inside on Rob Ackley. That's going to be the move now for the 8th position in the Louisiana State Chevrolet Camaro. Coming to lap number 7, side by side up in front, a lot of single file further on back. Now, unlike the traditional intermediate race that we have in the Integrity Racing League, many of which run until lap 200, or rather mile 200, some of which run a little bit shorter, only going up to about 150 miles, and tonight, everyone else is going to have that different racing attitude by virtue of the fact we are absolutely going longer. So the question becomes, how aggressive are these drivers going to be early on? Well, I think they're answering that question for us right now. They're really not going to bring that same spirited aggression that has been dominant throughout the Ignite series to this point this season. We've seen a little bit more of the yellow flag becoming a more abundant issue. Maybe some of that has to do with the car quantity, and I don't think it's a indictment on the quality of these drivers per se, but when you have so many on the racetrack, it becomes challenging to deal with them all going at each other side-by-side racing oh so long. The first time we did this 300-mile race, we only had 1 caution in the first 20 laps and then went 180 laps under green. That was in 2023. Last year, the finale, the ending moments of the race, shall we say, it was a little bit dicier. Justin Morton came across the line backwards in second place, and it was a very heated night, even though it was not a championship finale race. In 2023, it was the first ever season finale. Anthony DeBarro was able to win that night. He won the race, and DJ Stagner ended up collecting the inaugural Ignite Series championship. On that night, Thomas Bresci ended up finishing second in the title race. The difference was 2 points at the end of the night by virtue of a botched pit stop on DJ Stagner's behalf. DJ came in with an immense championship lead of nearly 10 points, and that would have been enough to just let him hang on no matter what happened. However, in his final pit stop cycle, he made some contact on the way in, got lucky not to get a penalty, and Thomas Bresci was able to get the job done and get closer and closer and closer. But he got the job done in distance, but not in the points tab, and that is where, of course, DJ Stagner still got it done. DJ right now, I mean, you look at the number 64 team, nowhere to be seen up in front. Swamp Motorsports as a whole, not going to be seen in the upper picture. Of course, you have the 99 of Ryan Potter. He is racing with us tonight. 28th, Seb Miller in 27th. So the Swamp is representing, and you can see right now, CarMax 83 leading that grouping. More Highline Racing League drivers entering the fray as well, as you see now the 24th place man, the Caterpillar number 31. That is Dylan Poteet. Poteet, a multi-time winner in the Highline Racing League Premier Series, is making his first ever Integrity Racing League start tonight. Poteet, of course, very well known for his expertise with the short track circuits, so intermediates maybe going to be a little bit more of a challenge, but he is hanging on well so far to be in that upper mid-pack and running in this very long single file line which goes about the whole circuit. $13 out of 200. That's how they roll. Michael Araya comes across the line, and it's going to be single file now, even between these top two. Ethan Lane in second, Nick Tarbuck third, Michael Stroll in fourth. Domination Intimidation Racing maintaining their positions in the top 10. Braxton Deweese going to be the back end of this team ordeal as he's going to be in the 10th position for now. Of course, Chris Deweese in the chat room, thank you for stopping by. Braxton Deweese fan club so strong, and of course with the help of DIR, your defending champion, is still in the thick of the title hunt. Currently, Deweese is at the back end of the top 10, just about where he qualified. Rob Ackley fell back a little bit. He has gone from 5th to 9th now, so a little bit of backwards motion for the 22 team, but nothing too detrimental. He's got a lot of time to rectify that, if anything. Matt Press with Brent McClendon. McClendon having a wonderful race so far. As Brent comes across the back straightaway on the high side here. It's going to be pretty tricky to see what happens now for the Louisiana State number 11 if we talk about the long term. Now, McClendon is a rookie driver in this series, making his first starts, of course, in his career, and he's a driver who still needs some significant gains in the championship to be considered for anything. He currently finds himself 32nd in the standings. That's where he was last week as well, so he is firmly solidified at the back end of the title picture, and he has made every start on the season. So, generally speaking, McClendon has seen trouble throughout the year more than almost anyone else. And of course, not everything can be attributed to the driver's fault as the caution flies for the first time tonight. It will be the back of the field. But it also comes down to the rest of the pack around. Yellow flag is out. First caution of the day. And we're looking back now to see what exactly caused it. The pack coming to a standstill now. Yellow flag is out. And we're going to take that look overhead and show you what just was the problem. Now with our eye in the sky here, we see a majority of the pack before they go into turns 1 and 2. The caution called as the leaders came out of 3 and 4. Back of the field is going to be of interest here. And this should show us where the conflict started. Ryan Potter in the 99, Sebastian Miller the 83. And while the leaders went by, you can see these back of field guys slowing it down, and it looks like they all do so in order, so not getting a read on where exactly the caution was and when it happened. Nevertheless, yellow is out, and it must have been far back at the field's tail end. Andrew Hamilton, for one involved, he's going to head to pit road right now, and you could see drivers heading in. This is about the same time we had that first caution in 2023, interestingly enough. Jacob Fife looks to stay out. Michael Laraya, not so much. Laraya is going to be on the way out of pit road as we speak. Ethan Lane just ahead of him. And the race off of pit road begins with our 20th lap as the field makes their way in. Caution's out for the first time tonight. And Jacob Fife is your leading man. With the number 36 of Fife at the head of the board, he does bring a few drivers with him here. Ryan Potter, Tom Wetmore, Braxton Deweese. Ryan Potter decided to head down to pit road. And a risky call, of course, particularly for the 36 of Fife. We're going to see now how exactly it turns out as we go one lap to green. "20 laps in out of 200. The Sim Motion Chevrolet getting its time in the sun and beginning an alternate strategy call for the 36. This is something that has helped out Jacob Fife immensely in the Octane Series, and it's been one of the pivotal keys to him having a victory so early in that season as he looks forward to getting one now on the Monday Night Tour. Fife, a two-time race winner on Monday nights, both of which last year, one coming at Talladega, one very close subsequently at USA International, but now he's got himself back in the picture, up and ahead. Two-Tech Chevrolet down low and ready to get to work. First restart of the day coming at lap number 21, and still just about 90% of this race to go as we see the green flag fly again. Barney the flagman lets them loose, and we are about to go green flag racing. Restart number 1, Jacob Fife pulls them through. Fife is going to get the ball rolling and take him down the back straightaway, but very quickly Ethan Lane picks up the top position, and it becomes a battle for second as the old tires are highly unlikely to hang on. Now, this is where it becomes that big issue. Do you think these drivers further on back are going to have what it takes to pull it together? Those who are now dealing in the Hornet's Nest, it's 3 wide. Nick Tarbuck and Jacob Fife. Fife up high, and he is being rattled as his big contact into Deweese. Jacob Fife sliding and right into Sam Nieto. Yellow flag is going to fly for the second time tonight, and that one was an inevitability. Jacob Fife with old rubber is manhandled on the circuit, and it begins by going 3 wide out of the tri-oval. Fife was up top, and Thomas Bresci wiggles. Fife checks up. He already got contact beforehand, but Ronnie Osmer and Braxton Deweese see a slam down to the number 2, Sam Nieto. And that is your caution. It's the second of the day, and a slow start by virtue of another incident. Ethan Lane takes the race lead, and it looks like now he's got it comfortably. 23 laps in out of 200, and we are due to restart next at about lap 27. The field is at a standstill, and we'll get back to work very soon. First pit stop cycle additionally is out of the way. That's going to be much to the benefit for most of these drivers, as they're still all evened out. With Ethan Lane in control, not a lot has changed from the beginning and the end of last week. So far, it looks like Michael Araya only going to be a few spots back, and the battle is most likely going to come down to those two drivers if they just keep the pace up. However, of course, the sun is going to continue setting. Weather conditions will not abide to what we're seeing right now. If a driver is comfortable with the current conditions, they're not going to have them forever. It will be good news for a driver who's maybe a little less comfortable. They might actually benefit from what happens from here on out. So make sure to watch out what happens from here. You might see some drivers who are having some current difficulties inevitably make their way back up. So if your favorite driver is outside of the top 10, even if it's beyond the confines of the top 15, there's a long race from here. Still more than 150 miles remain to determine whether or not drivers got the stuff. Coming now to lap number 25. And it's going to be Lane Wetmore and Nick Tarbuck, the 1-2-3 combination as it stands. Going to advance that. Caution. take away the extra lap. We'll restart at lap 26 rather than 27. Get a little bit more time under green rather than stalling things out, which is best to see. Ethan Lane on the bottom, Wetmore down low, and Nick Tarbuck is currently, anyhow, in the third position. So Domination Intimidation Racing keeping a lot of that stranglehold in the top 10 as they did in qualifying, and it looks like so far anyway, far from expecting to see more and perhaps better out of it as the night progresses. For the time being anyhow, they have been certainly impressive and perhaps the race to this point for the entire organization. Coming now, second restart of the night. It'll be all eyes on Ethan Lane for restart number 2. Tom Wetmore in the Tube Tech Chevrolet, while his, of course, championship aspiring teammate Blake Cannon is further back. He'll have to hold down the fort. One extra lap added. Once again, looks like pit road still shuffling some guys out. You'll see one on pit road right now in Braxton DeWeese as he goes down and in thanks to that prior incident with Jacob Fife. Fife, as it stands, is on the way, although it looks like he is shaken up as well. Damage for the number 1 and the 36 early on, accumulated in that second wreck. So, we'll get back to business. Ethan Lane holds forward. Castrol Edge Ford Mustang, still an outsider in the Night Series Championship, is tied for the most wins on the season. Perhaps a little bit of a paradox to think that a driver who has been exceptional at getting those checkered flags is still very far out compared to where a Thomas Bresci or a Blake Cannon would be in the title race. And Ethan Lane, as we mentioned now, is 13 points up on the championship lead in the Octane Series after a stunning flag-to-flag victory from Watkins Glen. Perhaps the best race of his Octane Series career outright, and certainly the best race of his year in the Integrity Racing League. The sun is setting. The sky is dimming, and we're getting back to business for lap number 27. It's going to be your second restart, and it's going to be Tom Wetmore on the outside, but at the helm, Ethan Lane. Ethan Lane gets a move on it. And right with them now, going to be Nick Tarbuck. Tom Wetmore staying out after that brief run, of course, one of the few holdouts. While it was Jacob Fife that ended up wrecking, Wetmore now is going to have to deal with the noise of those new tire drivers. Tom goes up high. Thomas Bresci goes right by him. Michael Araya and Michael Stroll will battle for third as the Hornets' nest opens up wide again. You'll see Brent McClendon, who so far has been having the best race of his season, just ahead of Blake Gordon and Jack Drucker. As we mentioned, right now McClendon is outside of the top 30 in the championship picture, and so if he's looking to make his improvements, he's going to have to start today and go from there. A top 10 run could pay dividends in getting inside the top 25 in points. Of course, so far, McClendon runs in the exact 10th position. Been in the single digits for the majority of the night so far in these opening 30 laps, but a lot of time remains until these first 30 bring us to our final 30, so McClendon has to consider that, optimize his strategy for later on. Blake Cannon watching and waiting now. You'll see that number 27 team getting closer and closer progressively. Cannon is now going to be for a brief moment there inside the top 10, falls back to 11th. Rob Ackley on the inside looks to take a spot from him. And Jack Drucker is going to watch. And now Wetmore gets loose big time. Tom again on old tire now. Fades outside the top 10. That gives Rob Ackley P10 exactly. Wetmore is in 11th, fending off Elliott Henderson and Blake Cannon alike. "31 laps in out of 200, the 37 of Henderson drops to the bottom. Will Reichard now goes side by side with the Cannon car. Reichard looking quick. Last time across the line, he was scored in the 14th place. And now he's got himself all the way up to about 12th here. And it could be 11th if he just gets through Elliott Henderson. Ethan Lane across the line. 32 laps in now. Nick Tarbuck is going to be just on him. It's within 1/10 of a second. Tarbuck watching and waiting now, potentially for opportunity. Nick is now ahead of the remainder of his team, including Michael Stroll and Rob Ackley. Unfortunately, the number 1 of Braxton Deweese having to park it. And that gives way for the Blake Cannon car of Roadhouse Racing to have a shot. Nancy Wetmore, the chat room, thank you for stopping by as well. Currently, Tom Wetmore facing off on Old Tire, which is an immediate disadvantage. But we'll see if the night goes on and it plays in his favor to have one extra set relative to the rest of the pack here. Wetmore now going side by side with Matthew Thunhorst. That's going to be for 15th here, and Wetmore is going to have to keep himself up high. Meanwhile, up in front, Matt Press making his move, diving down to the bottom. And it's going to be side by side for second place. Nick Tarbuck to the top. That'll give Matt Press the optimal groove down low, and he'll subsequently slide and take the offer. Looks like right now, very comfortable in that position. Matt Press stays exactly where he is. To the bottom for second. Elliott Henderson has to come down and in. Again, he just went down to pit road, and you can see that he is back on the way. Looks like a penalty issue to the number 37 team, and he gets back out there. Ackley, the number 22, runs 10th. Jack Drucker is 9th now. Jared Davis, the all-black number 19, ever the mystery. We still have yet to speak to him, and yes, he does have a race win. He's now making his way. Jared Davis up high. Davis, a multi-series threat, championship pace, and still a little bit of a mystery. Last few weeks really haven't gone his way entirely, however, and that is something to work on. Room for improvement for the 19 crew. Jared is now 17th in the championship, 146 points back. While it appears that comfortably he will make the top 10, the intricacies of where he ends up depends on this next string of races, which begins when we return in June. It's our final race, of course, of the month for the Integrity Racing League. Next week is going to be our Memorial Day break. So this is a big race to show the skills the driver has, to see if they've got what it takes when the going gets rough. And there's no bigger challenge than 300 miles at an intermediate circuit. 200 laps, that is, the longest mileage of any one race. Usually when we go upwards of 250 miles, it ends up being a superspeedway race like our Daytona 250, or this year we did do a 300-miler to open up the campaign. And of course, Talladega, which ends up being in the realm of 260 to 270 miles. But it's always the flat 300 here in Charlotte, and that's what gives way to the race's prestige. Everyone wants to come out here, perform exceptionally well. It matters most to get the job done in Charlotte over anything else, because it's also midway through the regular season race. 20 races in our regular season. This is the 13th of which, so you're coming down to those last races to punch your ticket into the championship. Up high, Brent McClendon, and this could be a shot now for McClendon to re-enter the top 10 conversation. Of course, just ahead of him, it's going to be Matt Press, Nick Tarbuck, and the number 11 team Hold Steady. Elliott Henderson watching, but again, Henderson is now a lapped car and does not play a role in this run. Blake Gordon, about the best he's been all night long. Blake getting himself now at the line to the 7th position. A reminder that today the number 13 team started 16th, so he's up 9 places officially, and it looks like that's going to maintain across the stripe. 41 laps in out of 200. The stadium lights are due to rise very soon. The sun has all but disappeared from the track. What begins as a day race with a little bit of sunlight left quickly becomes an all blacked out race with the night stadium lights coming on at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And this is when those racing conditions are going to rapidly change, so look to see who makes it up front as it becomes nighttime. Now, Ethan Lane, of course, a great driver, but I would be hard-pressed to say he's going to be the man who wins it tonight just because of how different the track conditions are going to be by the time this race ends. He might be great, but of course, you can only be so good in one condition, and rapidly adapting when you're inside the car, that's the big limiting factor. As it stands, however, still leading by about 2/10. Nick Tarbuck runs second. It is nearly fully single file all the way down. Casey Shue with Nicholas Ward. Ward again coming off of a strong race at Watkins Glen in the Octane Series. In that 97, locking and loading, Nicholas Ward currently runs in the 15th place. Upper mid-pack has been his domain for many a year, although as of late he's been exceptional in a few races. Podium in the Octane Series, of course a victory there, and one in the Ignite Series. His last top 3 in the Monday nights came at the Kentucky Motor Speedway, which is not a similar intermediate, but it is another 1.5-mile circuit. And this 1.5-miler, perhaps the most cookie-cutter of them all. When you think about it historically, the mile-and-a-half insurgence in stock car racing exists largely because of the Charlotte Motor Speedway, created as the brainchild of NASCAR's previously leading star as a driver, Curtis Turner. The envisioning of a smaller circuit where you could keep the gas on for the most of the circuit came by way of Curtis's insight as a driver, and a prolific one at that over the 1950s and 1960s. This track was opened in 1960 and ever since then has been the host to the World 600, now known as the Coca-Cola 600. One of the biggest racing events all throughout the country. We're coming up on it this weekend, and it's lined up in racing's Triple Crown. That, of course, including the Indianapolis 500 and the Monaco Grand Prix, as Elliott Henderson, the lapper with newer rubber, is quicker around the inside. Elliott Henderson makes his way through. Ethan Lane gets down to the bottom. And it's going to be side-by-side again between lapper and leader here. This is not a battle for position, but interesting to see the jockeying between these two guys, as they're in a much different spot relative to each other's race. 47 laps in out of 200. Sebastian Miller right now in the 83. You'll see him running in the bottom half of this track, currently outside the top 20, only to get past Cody Smith and now sit exactly in 20th place. He's got a teammate just 2 spots back in Ryan Potter, who's 22nd. So far, the Highline Racing League guys having more trouble than perhaps expected, except for Dylan Poteet. Poteet, again, is a first-time driver in the Integrity Racing League. He is coming in with no prior knowledge, and he's coming on strong so far. The 31 is now up to as high as he's been all night in 17th. Dylan, of course, more used to being up in the top 10 or the top 5, but with 45 stacked drivers, he's gone up 6 places. And I think, at least for now, while there's still a lot of time to continue improving, Poteet has to be at least content with the gains that he's made to this point. And of course, as the driver, the goal is to consistently elevate yourself And I think right now he's put himself in a real good position to do so, just as long as he maintains this calm consistency, which is so akin to what we see of him on Thursday nights and so integral to his racing style. Watching side by side is another battle ahead. That's Casey Shue for 16th. Will Reichard, and he will take that position. Reichard now one spot back. Nobody able to get around Ethan Lane, though. And the number 6, I'll tell you what, we expected to see it at the road courses more than anything, where the technical side of the stock car action is most prominent. But it looks like now, firing on all cylinders, Ethan Lane is only being contested by a driver who has far newer tire. So far, even then, Lane is winning that battle. The challenge of surpassing Ethan Lane on a pace basis is unlike almost anything else in stock car racing right now if you are on the iRacing platform. A Coke Series eligible driver with a pro license leading the field here on a Monday night in the Integrity Racing League. It's happened before so far in this campaign. He's got 3 wins, but when it comes down to endurance, there's no better driver equipped for the task based on that credibility and that experience. Now, interestingly enough, if you look at the Coca-Cola iRacing Series schedule, they very rarely go for races upwards of 200 miles. So the challenge lies a little bit more in races like this, where you have to go the distance, than it would in Coke Series style races. Of course, the driving talent in that Coke Series is top rate, but that's not to say anything bad about the Integrity Racing League, a group of drivers who are not full-time sim racing professionals, shall we say, and yet they're taking on these big, full-length Xfinity style races. You have the full length at Daytona now, Xfinity style anyhow, the full length at Darlington and Charlotte. Those are effectively the crown jewel races on the calendar. So far, Ethan Lane taking this one pretty well. Jack Drucker winning at Daytona. And you see him right now running in 8th place. He's fighting for those Rookie of the Year honors. And currently, the number 56 in Drucker, he finds himself 4th in the championship, 113 points back. While 114 might sound rather far out, you got to think about it like this. The championship's top 2 drivers are teammates. Thomas Bresci right now leads the standings. He has himself the most points of all, 501. Next behind him is his JTM teammate in Matthew Thunhorst, 41 points behind. And he had himself a great race last week to keep that deficit tight. The third closest driver is Nick Tarbuck, who is 111 points back coming into today. So as evidenced by those numbers, it has been JTM or nothing at the front of the field. And it looks like right now, it's JTM in the point standings. Ethan Lane is still a far cry out in 14th. But with 2 consecutive wins as potential tonight, it's really going to light a fire under this 6 team. And I think it's really going to be a warning shot, if anything, for the rest of this championship pack. Thomas Bresci up high right now working on Michael Stroll. Stroll has maintained his pace in these opening laps, still inside of the top 5 conversation. Just a few spots back on leader Lane and a few car lengths behind on 5th and 4th in Michael Araya and Matt Press. Oh, up in the wall, Matt Press, big time, gonna slam it there, and he's gonna lose an awful lot of time and position. That's the 60 with the big mistake. Watch this. So Press out of the top 10 just like that, and it looks like going through 3 and 4, up the track, hit the wall on his lonesome, got out of the way, and slid up high. Lucky not to spin in that circumstance, but as you can see, Matt Press, he is in a dangerous position as he's fallen all the way outside of the top 10 looks like now running in 13th. .59 laps in out of 200. Press definitely has right side damage. There's no way that he escaped that. And he's going to need a lot of time and I think a little bit of that good luck to pull it back together from here. Damage like that going to be critical to his aerodynamics. And he would be lucky not to have anything on the motor, but he's going to continue on here and try not to lose any more position. Press at the line, keeps it moving. But up in front, Jared Davis, Thomas Bressie, and the battle for the lead remains not much a battle. It is all Ethan Lane as it's, Nick Tarbuck very loose, dealing with the lapper in Henderson. That will shake up Nick Tarbuck big time, yes. But it's also going to help out with Michael Araya now as he gets a little bit closer. And maybe the battle for third will continue. Up front, 3 of your top 4 drivers are members of the Integrity Ignite Series Big 3 who were able to capitalize and win a total of 28 races last year of 30. The leading man of which was Ethan Lane. He won 14 races. Michael Araya, the champion, won 10. And then Nick Tarbuck got away with 4 in his own right. And he started the season well with 2 consecutive. The only other 2 drivers to win were once Don Stevenson and once Blake Cannon. Dominance was unbelievable that season for those 3 drivers, and it looks like even the Ignite Series is now starting to feel the reign of those 3. Particularly Lane, of course. Look further back, it's going to be now 2x2. Matthew Thunhorst with Thomas Bressie. Thunhorst on the way up. Maybe Bressie moving a little bit further back. KTM, new leading man on the track tonight. It's going to be Matthew Thunhorst, and again, he wants to solidify his position to contend against Thomas Bressie. He's got to find him on the racetrack as fair as it gets. To this point, Thomas Bressie has absolutely decimated the field in terms of performance. But last week, Matthew Thunhorst did get the better of him on the racetrack. And that brought the gap down under 50 points. While Bressie may be known as a perpetual bridesmaid, Matthew Thunhorst is the first ever regular season champion in series history, and since that point, his chances at a championship have gone downhill. Perhaps by virtue of increased talent pool, perhaps by virtue of bad luck as well, Matthew Thunhorst felt that 2024 was a wash. The performance was not there to go out and directly fight for the title, and it ended up coming down to his fellow JTM teammate in Thomas Bressie and to the eventual champion in Braxton Deweese. Now tonight, 65 laps in out of 200. Matthew Thunhorst is again ahead of Bressie. And now to 11th. Thomas Bressie falling just outside the top 10. Brett McClendon on the wall ever so slightly there. Very similar to Matt Press, although to a lesser degree. He'll get off lighter, still lose time. Louisiana State, number 11, having one of his best races of the season so far. Of course, he just needs to execute in that second half, and even reaping the gains of a 12th place finish would be substantial for this number 11 program. .66 laps in out of 200. First half of this race has gone by, for the most part, rather smooth, with the leader up front ahead who's got a whole lot of control. The strategy game is different tonight. Ethan Lane and company up in front are on a 48-lap stint, and we don't believe that we'll see many drivers go longer than 55 to 60 before heading down to pit road. So we might see that cycle by as early as lap number 75. And that means that drivers are already anticipating when they go down to pit road here. Lane and company went in once under caution, but that was about 20 laps into the race, which means that very soon, pit stop cycle number 2 is going to be a necessity, and it will happen under green by the way things are looking. Up front for Ethan Lane now, Jacob Fife, lapper he'll have to deal with, involved in the previous incident with Braxton Deweese. Side by side, Casey Shue making moves. He's going toe-to-toe with Brett McClendon and Nicholas Ward. Sophomore driver Vinny Tigner up into 10th. Casey Shue, a part-timer, now up to 12th. Might be starting to see those underdogs make their way to the front. As typical of a track as Charlotte is, there's no doubt about it, 300 miles is far from the norm. That gives drivers who are good at making those experimental calls, who might not have the time to finish them off usually, a great chance to do something different and execute tonight. Side by side, the 97 and the number 4. Nicholas Ward goes down and in, but can't get the momentum to clear off the corner, and that's going to have him now about a car length and a half in front for Casey Shue, of course. Cody Smith catching up. Cody right now on the back end for McClendon, and it looks like he might have some right side scuffing that is inhibiting his performance. Dylan Poteet about 27th. Hunter Madalenis, who has been remarkably strong this season and had that great second place finish last week, now finds himself going only for about 17th here on Dylan Poteet. Ricky Knight for the 07, and now Madalenis gets himself another spot. Dylan Poteet goes high, and that's going to be a fallout for the number 47 to Don Stevenson. He'll take good advantage of it, make his way through. Stevenson makes his way by, running in the 18th spot. Side by side, though, between Thomas Bressi and McClendon, and only briefly. Now you'll see that number 24 get away. All the while, Brett McClendon has decided to get there with Tyler Hensley. Hensley in the number 5, also sponsored by the Exalta Chevrolet crew. Dylan Poteet going at it with Josh Christman. Back half of the top 20. These are the final spots to be decided. Christman is in 20th. Poteet 19th. Sebastian Miller is 21st. And you'll see Blake Gordon right now getting right up in front. Jacob Fife going at it with Michael Stroll. Again, Fife a lapper. Stroll is not. And second on down is contentious. Ethan Lane leads by nearly 2 seconds over the battle you're going to see right now. Take a look off the back end of the 29. This familiar matchup has met so many times before, but rarely to this point in the Octane series have we seen it transfer over to the Monday nights. Michael Araya has decided to pursue the Ignite series on a full-time basis. This is one of his best nights of the season so far. Araya, who is still trying to get firmly solidified in the single digits, runs 10th in the points coming into today. Not at all a bad place to be, and he is in front of course, the majority of the field. All the drivers that have attempted at least one race, all 70 of which registered anyhow, well, there's no way else to slice it besides saying that Michael Araya is one of the best of them. But he has been taking this challenge as one of particular seriousness in regards to how difficult the series has been. While right now he is in front of Ethan Lane in points, he's got the regulars who have been, for the most part, dominating the schedule and even some rookies just like Madalenas. To the inside, Nick Tarbuck continues defense on the optimal groove. Casey Shue, Hunter Madalenas now. This is for 15th. Hunter is getting closer, and he's got himself on the inside. Thomas Bressi goes at it now with Tyler Hensley. And Bressi is slipping back. While his teammate Thunhorst is now in 8th. Looks like the 24 is going to fade behind and drop another spot, and he is only just inside the top 15 now. Bad news for Bressi. Great news for his teammate in Thunhorst up ahead. And mind you, both of them are on the same set of strategy with regards to tire. So it's interesting to see an immense struggle for Bressi rather than Thunhorst when they're running practically equivalent calls on pit road. Now let's see whether or not that Thomas Bressi car gets a better chance as he comes in very soon. We're at our 60th lap on the run. Maybe the maximum we'll see is 70, but we have seen a few drivers make their way to pit road as of late. Tom Wetmore is now in an 8-lap run. He went in at about lap number 72. A few behind Brett McClendon, and you can see right now he's one of the fastest on the racetrack, and Blake Cannon. They've both gone in with the last 10. And that signals to the entire field, no matter if you're front or back, that pit road is wide open. We'll just see who decides to use it and when. Right now, that is still far and wide up for debate. You got a favorite driver on the circuit, make sure to let us know. Pit cycles are coming soon, and we'd love to shout out your favorites live on FTN Broadcasting. Just let us know who you're rooting for. Subscribe to the chat room for unlimited access in any of our broadcasts. Love to hear from you and what you have to say, so let us know now who you're rooting for as the night goes on. Caution's out. Third time today, and as the yellow flag falls, it's not a complication on pit road, but instead the racing circuit. And taking a look now to see what happened, the yellow's out. Rolling back the replay tape, trying to get a better look at what just caused it. Pace car already out by that point, and we're watching to see when it was initiated. And it looks pretty clear to us. Down the front straightaway, and we've drawn a bead on it. So yellow flag is out once again. Third time on the day. Tyler Hensley looks to have been close at the time of the incident. Trying to show you right here, right now. Lap number 82. It is your third caution of the night. Turns 3 and 4. And right here, Matt Press. Number 60 is involved, and the night has gone from bad to worse for a struggling Matt Press. Previously getting loose off the corner, down the front straight, slow, up the track, and he ends up destroyed, luckily not collecting Andrew Schaub in that one. 83 out of 200. Caution flies. It's your third of the day, and the field is again at a standstill. At the line off pit road, Ethan Lane beats Nick Tarbuck and Michael Araya, with Jack Trucker and Michael Stroll finishing up the top 5 as they roll out. The AC Delco number 3 makes its way, but there's still not a match yet on track for Ethan Lane. Lane has led more than 70 laps so far, and is coming close already to locking up the most laps led accolade on the day. One lap to green, we'll restart with 85 complete. Few holdouts, all of which lappers, Wetmore, McClendon, Cannon, and company. And it'll be Ethan Lane and Michael Araya their race in their jurisdiction once more. Pulling the field together with the most dominant man in the past 2 weeks at the helm. Ethan Lane on the bottom, Michael Araya up high, Jack Drucker, second row diagonal back. Sim Speed Shop number 44 is to the top side as well. Nearly halfway down, and halfway remains. Sun is all but entirely set. Your weather as it stands is quite different, at least with regards to relative humidity. Everything else has stayed mostly the same. Track temperature is 87, 1 degree cooler than it was prior. Ambient temp at 79 degrees Fahrenheit. Have to wait for some 50 more laps to really see the fruits of the labor of weather changing. Right now, all Ethan Lane. 1 extra lap tacked on. Restart exactly at lap 86. More than 30 drivers with us. Vinny Tigner now sitting in the 31st spot. See single file back, Blake Cannon gets together. And Blake right now, one of those drivers outside of the top 30. 32nd. 45 drivers on the day. Seen some retirees. Nieto now multiple laps down. And of course, out Deweese, as is Andrew Hamilton. The leaders have remained remarkably consistent and are set to get back to work. From this point onward, as we went down to pit road at about lap 83, one more pit stop is necessary, doing the math, to get to the end of this race. If we stay under green, that next pit stop cycle would be at about lap 140. That is a 60-plus lap run from here. Split the difference, make it twin 60 splints to the end of this race. One additional lap. But we'll go at it at lap 87 here. Continue to organize the field. Steve Durham further back there, and it looks like everyone's still contact. One in the tire barrels. And one driver just hit big into the tire barrels. Take that back 20 seconds. And an incident under yellow. If we're looking at that right, yes, that was Blake Gordon. Take a look at this. Gordon 3 down. His car is toast. That's raced over for the 13. And you'll see it again. He went in full speed. That was 100% intentional. Night's over now for the 13 crew. I don't think he had the intention of returning. The night concludes violently for that crew. And so now, the wait comes to a close. Ethan Lane at the helm. A little bit of a longer yellow flag period than ours previous. And for your third of the night, we're getting ready to go back at it. Pit stops have been accounted for. One more remains mathematically. You might see another long green flag run. We'll see if we can go with the flow from here. Back to business. Ethan Lane gets the impulse. Michael Araya just beside Nick Tarbuck now. The outside holds no candle as the 6 leads us for restart number 3. yellow flag's out again. And a very quick call on the field. And cautions do breed cautions, and that's been proven time and again. Happens once more. We're taking a look back immediately to see what the issue was. Yellow flag called just about instantly as we got back down the back straightaway. Restart was a little bit of a stack up. And you can see in the turns 1 and 2, while the leading formation got out just right. Drivers outside the top 30 had the complication. Yellow flag is out for the 4th time, and once again, back-to-back yellow flags. .88 laps in out of 200. And we'll stall it out a little bit longer. We'll go back green at about lap 90 from this point. Enjoyed tonight's coverage so far. Make sure to stay tuned. The second half is rapidly approaching live on FTN. And from this point, we've got a little bit more to show you, not just on the racetrack. Till we go green again, we'll bring you some brief promotional coverage from our friends at FTN Broadcasting, the partners and associates that make this style of racing possible. You're watching the Mini Coke 300 with the Integrity Ignite series, and we will return right after the following messages. You won't miss a thing. We'll be back before we go green.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Lap number 91. Restart number 4, Ethan Lane and Michael Araya. Those are your top 2 drivers as Nick Tarbuck remains with his teammate Michael Stroll on the inside groove. Matthew Thunhorst, tending against his own teammate for the championship lead, is on the outside, and he'll be following Daytona winner Jack Drucker. Here we go again, as it's about time we get back to business. Green flag held in the air by Barney. And as he waves it, Ethan Lane gets another car length and a half. Front runners have had no difficulty getting the ball rolling again on these restarts. Now just to make sure the back of the field gets in that same rhythm, and we should be good to go. Side by side further behind. A little bit more too wide. Outside the top 20. No mistaking The leader is still Ethan Lane, and he's got it above everyone else, without a doubt. Lane, Tarbuck, Lariah, 1, 2, 3. Now it's going to be all about those domination, intimidation racing guys. To the inside goes Michael Stroll. Stroll gets it in. And now Matthew Thunder's got it on the out. Optimal groove has been, for the most part anyhow, that inner lane. However, Matthew Thunders has been making every groove work to this point. That's perhaps part of the success he's had compared to his other teammates, that so far he's found no discomfort in working other lanes. Fifth caution tonight, by the way. Yellow flag is out again. Field is brought to a standstill. And the back of the pack pulls together again. Continuous complications outside of the top 25 have been perhaps the biggest of issues. Everyone backs it down. And again, all these issues have happened far outside of leading range. It is your fifth caution of the day, and it looks like we're going to bring it to that second half. A few more yellow flags. Nick Tarbuck, number 29 now, getting up to your iRacing official pace car. Ethan Lane, just behind. And the field is frozen. Sam Nieto in the number 2, running in a 40th position right now. There's Will Reichard. All those further on back have collected themselves again. The pit road, Jacob Fife, Daniel Foss, Jared Davis, and Andrew Schaub. Rest of your pack remains out. Steve Durham on pit road beforehand. And another restart is set to go at it. The entire field, anyhow, about lap number 98. Lane in the 6th, while most dominant so far, has Nick Tarbuck beating him to the punch before the yellow flag flew. This means that for the first time all night long in any restart or starting scenario, the 29 team, or anyone besides Ethan Lane, will assert authority. Highly likely the 29 takes it to the inside. It is his choice, however, and he might choose to move uptown. That's all the call to the 29 crew in Tarbuck. Got a teammate a few lanes back in Michael Stroll. And about 2 lanes further back on him is Rob Ackley. With the exception of the early problems for the Braxton DeWeese team, Domination Intimidation Racing has held it pretty well up in front. Expecting to see 1 extra lap added to the caution, which will make it number 97 as we return. Ethan Lane forced up to the top. Nick Tarbuck having that opportunity on the optimal groove. Low side is his, as is Michael Araya, Matthew Thunhorst, Jack Drucker, 97 of Nicholas Ward, Michael Stroll to the inside, and he'll be there with Hunter Madalenas. Hunter, who's been running in the mid-pack for the majority of the day, now has himself right between 2 DIR guys. Restart number 5 now. Nick Tarbuck hoping to prove that he's got what it takes to get away, and that he does. The inside line much quicker. That'll even give Michael Araya a shot to take second. '47 of Stevenson. Low now with Dylan Poteet. Dylan up to 14th. The highest spot the 31 crew has been in all night long. Oh, it's in the back. And we got ourselves trouble. Will that be another caution? Thomas Bressie among those involved. And the 24 with challenges. And you'll see right there, they split apart. Bressie and those among him. And that's when the real difficulties begin. The 94 of Boomer Logan right along. Jack Daniels, number 94. Boomer on the bottom. Brian McFerrin there in the contact with Logan. Shoots the 24 in the opposite direction. This collects McFerrin. Contact for Daco Parka. Of course, Boomer Logan and Daniel Foss. So we'll go to lap 100 under caution as Ethan Lane and Nick Tarbuck are first and second once more. Michael Araya now going to be third place. Nick Tarbuck not able to hang on to the restart zone. He'll have himself second again. Last 15 laps have been yellow flags in consecutive order. Flag racing, few and far between. .100 laps in out of 200. Halfway point has been reached. And we'll go green with less than 100 left. Be about 98 laps remaining by the time the green flag flies once more. Raya third, Thunderhorst fourth. And a tale of two different races for these two teammates. Matthew Thunderhorst, fourth place. Thomas Bressie involved in the most recent incident, and he has scored outside the top 30. You'll see him on pit road right now as we focus clear. 24 is far out of contention. And you see him right there. So a pivotal night for Matthew if he wants to contend for the championship. He'll have to make the most of it from here on out. One lap to green and 99 to go. We head back at it. Ethan Lane back in control. And Nick Tarbuck up high. Second half of this race is due to begin. Hopefully now we put things back together as we had them for much of the first half. Castrol Edge Ford Mustang has led now north of 80 laps today. We'll see if the field in its entirety can pick up the slack. Bring it back to green flag action. It's been nearly 20 laps since our last run. side by side for the 6th and 29. Here we go again. 6th restart. And it's our 3rd and the last 15. Green flag flies, and Lane is in full control. Michael Stroll right there with Matthew Thunhorst. Furthermore, you're going to have the 97 of Nicholas Ward bobbling down to the bottom. It's a quick move, a sharp one at that, and a top 25 plus getaway scot-free. Kyle Brooks from the 71 at the back end here watching as Daniel Foss gets in the wall ever so slightly, but it looks like right now the rhythm of the racetrack is back on its better strides. That's, of course, what we would love to see. Michael Stroll to the inside. Hunter Madalenas watching, and we'll see how long he waits, but clearly here, opportunity presenting itself. Thunhorst on the high side being pressured by the 3 team, and Hunter's got about the best seat in the house to watch this battle. Take a look on board. .96 laps left on the clock here. That lap clock ticking down. Madalenas looking to put the pressure on the number 8 of Matthew Thunhorst. Ethan Lane in the 6th, caught back in 3rd, and it's now Michael Araya in control. While Lane got off better on the restart, it appears that now with colder rubber and a different track in terms of conditions, maybe Ethan Lane's starting to slip back now. 85 degrees Fahrenheit. And it is the coolest the track has been all night long. Michael Araya for 3rd gets by Lane. And Michael now back in his qualifying spot, while Araya leads. 94 laps to go. And it now becomes another driver getting his chance in the sun to be the outright leader. Ethan Lane led that first lap almost through and through. And all of a sudden, it looks like the 44 instead holds that placement on track. Hunter Madalenas to the inside, Euro 7, and he's got it well cut on the bottom here. Hunter, of course, on the up and up after starting in the mid-pack and beginning the race there and keeping himself there for the first 40-some laps. Not, of course, what he would do. Even still, his progression up the circuit has been nothing short of remarkable. Expected to be a very firm contender in the championship race later this season. Madalenas keeps up the style of driving we've become accustomed to seeing out of him. 0-7, right where he needs to be. Tyler Hensley side by side now with Rob Ackley as they go 2 wide. Three wide now. Rob Ackley tries to split it. Hensley backs off. That's going to help out Rob more than anything else because Matthew Thunhorst had to concede his line and ends up wider. And a big swerve to the bottom. That is Blake Cannon taking it deep. With Hunter Madalenas, they went from the higher side all the way down to nearly the apron lining. Wonderful for the 27 to get away from that, but you can see the riskier blocking from Stroll and Adolenis coming to rise. Ethan Lane to the inside now on Nick Tarbuck. Slicing through. Lane's got it for second. Question becomes, does he have anything left in the tank now to catch back up to Lariah? Or is he really starting to show those signs of struggle? Michael Lariah, the 44, 6/10 back. Ethan Lane. That's about where Nick Tarbuck was before the time of the overtake, so we'll see whether or not that ends up being anything a difference closed, or if it's anything of an expansion for the 44. Right now, Michael Lariah still looking as sharp as ever. Ethan Lane, of course, now pulling that 10th, and it looks like it's about official now that the 44 has to watch out. Lane still has speed. Take a look in the cockpit, and he is pulling distance. And all that for Blake Cannon to surge to the inside, and he'll take himself up to the P2. Cannon, ever the renegade driver. He always likes going out there and pushing hard for the lead. And I think Ethan Lane is going to be just fine with letting him do the work. Yellow's out. 7th of the day. Back of the field, caution and conflict as Josh Gallagher gets himself back to speed. Looking to see back right now what's going on. Tail end of the field looks to be the time of the incident. The place. Boomer Logan and company off speed, and it looks like Gallagher there, as we saw, pulling himself back together. Cautions have been a little bit more abundant than in previous runs here in Charlotte. It is our 7th now for a good 20 laps at race pace. Michael Lariah has led the opening portion of sector number 2, second half of the race. Blake Cannon, dive just a lap ago, gets the P2. Lane, the dominant man of the day so far, remains in the podium and was gaining time prior to the caution. So now we're at a standstill, but it'll be brief. If pit road decides to fill itself up, that's at the virtue of the field here, they've got the call. The field says yes to pit road. And it is a resounding yes, in fact. As almost every driver comes down and in, you'll see the track is all but empty. Everywhere with the exception of pit road. Michael Lariah up in front. And it looks like he will be the leading man out, if not for Blake Cannon. I think Cannon just beat him off the line. And maybe only by a fraction of a bumper. But it is Cannon, then Lariah, then Ethan Lane, the 1, 2, 3. .85 laps to go. Cannon and his Toyota Supra. Advantageous. Heading 1 lap to green this time. Bye. We'll go back at it. Lap number 118 with 83 laps to go. iRacing official pace car takes those lights off. And it's about time now. get back to business. A brief run to begin. That, of course. Blake Cannon, Michael Araya, Matt Alenis, and Lane. About 20 laps or so, much like the first stint. Split the difference. And maybe now we can go for one more run. Even though drivers went down to pit road before, at about lap 80, still one more pit stop mandatory when you do the math. A 300-mile race means that drivers do have a few more tire sets than usual, coming in at 6 today as compared to the regular 4. America's Home for Racing has given us a spotlight on some of the best drivers in this field. So far, top 3 are the ones who have stood the test. See what they do now as they get back to business with 83 laps to go. And Blake Cannon with the advantage bursts out onto the scene, and for the first time all night long, the 27 holds full control. Cannon gets away. Lariah, Ethan Lane side by side, but only briefly now, so number 6 gets himself through. Dropping to the inside. Blake Cannon now finds himself up to the lead. Ethan Lane goes third. It's side by side, Matt Alenis and Tarbuck. Furthermore, Michael Stroll and Rob Ackley. Ethan Lane in the 8th spot here. And then you'll see Nicholas Ward up high. Jared Davis, P10. And 11th is Tyler Hensley. 82 laps to go now. And one more pit stop still remains, but you're going to see that battle swapping back and forth. The race lead has returned. 81 to go. Watch out now for the number 27 of Cannon. Blake has been waiting for the majority of this race to even have this opportunity, and all of a sudden it has been bestowed upon him. Of course, comes with that hard work of getting the race lead. Your pit road. Now, of course, that's the biggest challenge of all, maintaining the race lead. Just quick enough to take it. Now he's got to be on defense. Take a look on the back end. Sponsored by both Cannon Creations and TubeTech. Blake Cannon looking to put himself back in the fight as Thunhorse is having a subpar day. Maybe Blake now can put himself back in the top 3 of the championship picture. Michael Araya has not made a move to advance position in the last 2 laps, and the same goes for Ethan Lane right now in 3rd. Jared Davis, P10, and as you can see right now, he's getting up there on Matthew Thunhorst. Top 10 is particularly contentious now. They're double file all the way back from Rob Ackley, all the way down to nearly Ryan Potter. So a good 10 places are being actively contested. The toe. Josh Christman up high, as is Kyle Cooper. And Cooper now in the top 15. Great to see for Kyle, a driver who started far outside of the leading places. And you look at how far he's come, he's one of the biggest movers on the night. 41st up to 15th, and the only driver inside the top 20 who qualified outside of the top 40. Remarkable for Kyle Cooper. Really no other driver has the same reputation of making it all the way from the back to the mid-pack on such a regular basis. Cooper has done so today, and He is stacked up now with some of the best in this field. A long while to get there. Long last, he's made his way. "76 laps to go. Cannon side by side with Michael Araya. This one's for the race lead. Looks like now Laraya's got a shot in the arm, taking it down to the bottom. That inside groove has been so wonderful for passing, and it works that way once again. Cannon up high. He's still got a slight advantage down the straightaways as he works the backstretch. That much better. Blake lies low. Cannon has kept them there side by side now for a full lap. Neither of them have gained much an inch, but if there is an advantage, it still is Blake Cannon. He led the last 2 laps at the line. That's just enough he'll need at the end of the race. Michael Araya loose, slips up big. That's going to give the number 27 the lead outright. 74 laps to go. Matthew Thunhorst trying to slide ahead of Ethan Lane. 7th now for the Lane machine. Of course, he's trying to get it back up to P6. Side by side. Let's watch now as the number 6 goes toe-to-toe with the front runners in the field. And take a look inside the cockpit now. It's a lot different from when Lane had clean air. It's really jockeying. Unable now to put the full power in. Ethan Lane is definitely struggling more, at least compared to previous. While he gets by Matthew Thunhorst, getting through Hunter Matalettis will be a lot harder as he uses the high side. Blake Cannon, he makes it through. 71 laps to go up next, and Laraya's right behind him. And amidst all the chaos, look at the man now who runs in 3rd, Nicholas Ward in the 97. Last time we were at intermediate just like this in Kentucky, came home in 3rd. Of course, it was one of his best races, and in fact, came home 2nd officially at the line. Paul Mikolajczyk credited P3. Keep your eyes peeled on Nicholas Ward. While he has not been a juggernaut today, very clearly has had the up-and-up attitude to continue progressing. That's going to remain pivotal now as we get toward the latter stages. Less than 70 laps to go. Hunter Matalettis scored P5, getting ahead of Matthew Thunhorst. Ethan Lane back up to 4th. Lane fell back, got outside the top 5. Even in that indecision and that struggle, he is far from quit. Michael Stroll up on the high side here, a little bit more of a struggle for him than previously expected. He's right up alongside his teammates in Ackley and Nick Tarbuck. Looks like DIR is still hanging on to a triple top 10. Instead of being at the front of that top 10, it's more so at the back. Either way, no operation can say they've had a bad race when you have 3 guys in the top 10, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Very few teams are able to send up 2 drivers at the front of the field. And it looks like tonight they've gone for a triple threat. The 22 and the 29, Michael Stroll still the leading man of which. Michael just ahead of Jared Davis. of course, for a brief moment, about 10 laps prior. However, instead it runs the opposite route now. Jared Davis has ahead of Michael and Matthew Thunderst. Nick Cannon side by side with Michael Lariah again. And it's going to be the Lariah machine, this time with a head full of steam. Slipped up, got loose the time previous, and it looks like instead now, as he rolls down the back straightaway, he'll have a shot. Not enough momentum to close it. Lariah gets back in line, 66 laps to go. Meanwhile, Ethan Lane in his slow climb back up just made it past the 97. Watch out, Nicholas Ward. Another pass made on the 6 team's end. That puts him back within striking range of the race lead. Michael Lariah fades back on Cannon. And for the first time in this run, about 20 laps worth, Lane is closer to Lariah than Lariah is Cannon. All that lying back and that more conservative racing attitude for Ethan Lane is going to pay in dividends now, as he has better equipment perhaps to carry himself through this next stretch. Watch now as the 6 team is as close as he needs to be. Ethan Lane to the inside on Michael Lariah. His stuff is saved, and he's ready to plow right by. For second, Michael Lariah gonna have the surge on the high side, but by all accounts, he is boxed out. Lane has him there. Gonna fall back in line again. Very clear that Ethan is the man putting the pressure, and not vice versa. And that's something that will rattle the number 44, even if right now he's hanging on well. Will Reichert up high. Talk about a struggle for the number 67 team today. Mostly a clean car, but he'll get right in Ethan Lane's way. Lane, I'm sure not going to be happy about that one. Either way, he'll get through. Jared Davis, Matt Alenis, side by side now. Elliot Henderson and Rob Ackley. Still a triple top 10. The DIR crew. Rob Ackley might be the first man in jeopardy of those as he gets shafted high. And it's Jack Drucker in 11th here. Drucker gets by Ackley. He's really going to be far out of the frame. You see there, Will Reichert, very difficult for any of these leaders to get by, even though he stays on the high side. And unfortunately, that 67 team more of a moving roadblock on the circuit more than anything else. There's Thomas Bresci, also having his struggles. They're going to pull past Bresci as quick as he comes by. Thomas on the high side of the circuit drops a little bit lower with Ethan Lane. Coming through turns 1 and 2. 60 laps remaining this time around, and we'd like to thank our friends at iRacing Motorsport Simulations for their continued efforts in making this style of sim racing possible. Coming up on iRacing's 17th anniversary, and as always, there's no better place to go to start your sim racing career than iRacing.com. From the amateurs to the professionals, they've got you covered, and they have with not only stock car racing, but dirt action, road course racing, the endurance stuff, Formula 1, Indycar, and so much more. Visit iRacing.com to learn a little bit more about how you can start your sim racing career after tonight's broadcast. With 59 laps to go, Blake Cannon is the man at the top of the board and will return right after the following message.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
And the battle for the lead is about as intense as it can get. Michael Araya now going to have Ethan Lane boxed up on the high side. They'll go 3 wide. Michael Araya right on the inside. Lane ping-ponging. Contact! The big 3! Big contact! Cannon takes Araya out. Lane takes the lead. Perhaps the most significant wreck of the season. Unbelievable. Lane into Araya, into Cannon. Watch this back. And this changes everything with regards to how this race is run. Unbelievable. 55 laps to go. Lane gets into Cannon. And Cannon ends up sliding into Michael Araya. And while Lane gets away, mostly damage-free, mind you, it's the 27 and the 44 who are on the worst end of it. Racing rivals catch each other up front. Yellow flag is out. And if you take a look one more time, as we intend to do here, you'll see just how severe that incident was. Both number 44 team and the number 27. As Lane gets away, Raya slides far out of line, and the caution's out. So Lane continues on, and we're going to go to pit road now after a 30-lap stint. Drivers now do have the stuff to go the rest of the distance on this pit stop. That was the first time we saw 3 wide for the race lead all night long, and it looks like it immediately results in major tension and problems. Lane, Madalenas, Davis, Ward, 1, 2, 3, 4 off the line. And so now Nick Tarbuck takes 5th. Field up front looks remarkably different. And you gotta wonder if any of these guys now contend 6 of Lane. Not that it is a clear-cut path to victory. It's certainly not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. Figure that Lane now has lost both Cannon and Araya up in front. And we've seen more of a dismal day than anything else. Thomas Bresci, Ethan Lane, might be in the best position for a surefire oval win that he's been all year long. I would say that Madalenas and Jared Davis, fittingly enough that they're 2nd and 3rd now, might be the biggest threats to that win. If not that, Matthew Thunhorst, who's had a remarkable night in his own right, high as the podium places, has not put the pieces together to lead so far. Ethan Lane on the inside lane, of course. That's been preferential for all leaders so far. As we get back to business. Lane and Madalenas, 2nd. The Domination Intimidation Racing Brigade, we mentioned their triple top 10 has been in order for the majority of the night. They are now 6th, 7th, and 8th drivers in Cannon and Lariah having significant difficulties now. They're both going to make up 2 places. "52 laps remaining. We go green." All eyes on Ethan Lane as he brings them back up front. Hopefully, he'll do so without any incident. Green flags out, 52 laps to go. And it's going to be all about Lane and Madalenas now, as those two get away and it's double file on back. Going to be a little bit hectic. Dylan Poteet further back there, and you'll see him with Steve Durham. 3 wide now, Brett McClendon. And Seb Miller turned up the track. Slams Cal Filarski. And the caution is out. Dylan Poteet by the narrowest of margins get away. Of course, Steve Durham also involved. Watch this. It starts with Seb, and it devolves from there. Another big incident, taking guys from the mid-pack to the tail end. Miller was 3 wide. Brent McClendon made contact, and so it begins. Coming down out of control, 83 team. And you see Steve Durham involved in this one. Durham hit by Cal Filarski as he tries to put it back together and overcorrects. Daco Parka spins the number 21, cautions out. Yellow flies with 51 to go. Few drivers in the back half of the field come down for additional damage repairs. While backmarkers more regularly have attended pit road, it looks like the field is now content to maintain track position over anything else. That's what it appears to be for Ethan Lane. 50 laps to go. Remains out front. Has not dropped in again. "50 laps until we get back at it, of course, for the checkered flag. Until that point, we'd like to thank our partners and associates once again, live on FTN. Brought to you by Whiplash SimCams. We're going to go briefly to our non-stop coverage and give you some words from all the people who make it happen behind the scenes. Ethan Lane leads with 50 to go and will return before we go green, so stay tuned. You're watching the Mini Coke 300 with the Integrity Ignite series, and we'll be back after this.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
"48 laps remaining. Ethan Lane and Hunter Madalenas poured up in front. Nicholas Ward is back in third. Jared Davis is now fourth. Matthew Thunhorse is the final man of the top 5 according to timing and scoring here. Usual suspects for the most part up and in front. Get back going. Ethan Lane is going to put it back into gear. We've now had more than 10 restarts on the day. 8 laps to go. We're coming closer eventually to our last. '97 of Nicholas Ward, second place on the jump. A great work there for the '97 team. Ward is still looking for his first ever Ignite Series win in this modern era. However, he does have a victory this year in the Octane Series. Side by side between Elliott Henderson and the 5 of Tyler Hensley. And you see him there taking it up top. Hensley making a move now on Henderson. Still hasn't cleared with 47 laps to go. Still a little bit of time to make it happen. Hunhorst toe-to-toe with Jack Drucker. While Jack only has that victory from Daytona, it's still been a remarkable season for the rookie in the number 56. And that speaks to the reason that he's still top 5 of the championship picture. A win cannot keep you up there. I mean, Ethan Lane is 3 and he's 14th of the championship pylon coming into the day. Instead, it has been the consistent efforts that have kept him up in front that have added to the victory he got in his first ever points-paying race. Drucker might not be a surefire championship contender, at least in the later round, but he is almost a lock already for the playoff picture and undeniably a driver with an excess amount of potential that we're going to see a lot more of as the season goes on. That was Blake Cannon getting back on the racetrack, mind. There's the 27 right there. As Cannon gets back on the way, he's got fresher rubber than almost everyone around him. It's going to play to his advantage, yes, but it's also going to mean the drivers who are leading have to deal with a lapper who is fast and aggressive. And he lets everyone know that just about every time he's on the racetrack. Lane single filing up in front right now. You'll see Blake Cannon dropping a little bit further back. Brent McClendon. Side by side is just in front of him. See what's going on from the perspective of the McClendon car as Brent still has a shot for a top 10. McClendon to the high side on Stevenson. That will be good for position. And it looks like right now, Don is going to fade back. Jockeying for the 14th position. And it looks like McClendon at the line just barely will take it. Minuscule gap between these two drivers, though. You got to watch out to see which of them will really come away with it, but for now, they're still jockeying. Nevertheless, it's going to be Hunter Madalenis and Nicholas Ward going at it for P2, but not a match yet for Lane. Ethan Lane at the line gets away. Ward ever so slightly knocking into that wall. Didn't knock the outer wall of turn 4 down, as we saw with Nat Press previously, but he certainly made his fair share of contact on that one. Now the 97 sits back in third. Hunter Madalenis comfortably and alone now has second. Nick Tarbuck watches and waits and runs P4. Still a shot for that number 29 team. All the while, Blake Cannon, the lapper, is going to try to make something happen on the high side. He has gotten by now. Rob Ackley. Ackley runs 5th overall. Remarkable race for that number 22 team. And Domination Intimidation Racing still maintains a triple top 10 and now a double top 5 with Tarbuck and Ackley. Michael Stroll not all too far behind as he still runs in 8th. Laps to go here. Hunter Madalenis now advantageous over Ethan Lane. Does that mean that the Madalenis machine has the stuff to go to distance? Cannon to the inside on lane. Will we see retaliation? Again, two of the drivers who got involved in perhaps our most pivotal wreck of the race, side by side. Lane so far has gotten away. No contact between them. But Ethan falls in line. He's going to let Cannon have it there. Now Blake goes to the inside on Hunter Madalenas. So the disadvantage is with the 0-7. That might actually help out Ethan Lane. Cannon quickly gets by Madalenas. Lane is about a car length back. Nicholas Ward continues to watch, but with 37 laps to go, it's now going to be Hunter Madalenas over Ethan Lane. Single file spreading out mostly. Jacob Fife on Don Stevenson. So the guys who are battling to stay inside of the realm of the top 15. Not necessarily guaranteed where exactly they were landing in this battle. See here, Fife goes up high on Stevenson, still watching Brent McClendon. McClendon now up to 13th by virtue of getting ahead on Don Stevenson and Fife alike. Stevenson now looking for that retaliation. He gets by the number 11 and does so quickly, racing down the back straightaway and making that charge, only for Jacob Fife to get to the inside. 36 to go, coming only 35. Blake Cannon leads Madalenas. Lane then second, Nicholas Ward. Final driver in this main bundle is Jack Drucker. It looks like that's the way it's going to stay with the Super 7 up in front. One else not as close as they need to be. .35 to go. Side by side, 97 and the 29 teams. And it's going to be Nicholas and Nicholas. Arbuck on the inside. Ward on the outside. Take the advantage now with the number 29 team, and Domination Intimidation Racing might go for 2 passes in 1 lap. Comes Rob Ackley. Got stifled more than anything by Ward getting in the wall. Didn't quite work. 33 laps to go. Thank you, Josh Smith, for checking by in the chat room. If you've got a favorite driver, make sure to let us know live on FTN. Side. Here comes Madalenas on lane. Side by side for the race lead once again. This time Ethan's got the outside to reclaim it. And at lap 168, leadingest race leader of the day. We say leadingest as in he's led the most laps. Back up front. Now trailing directly behind Blake Cannon, of whom he was involved with a significant incident just about 30 laps ago. So far, we haven't seen any animosity play out between the two drivers on the racetrack. Stevenson to the inside. Watch now as you'll see Vinny Signer with McClendon, and there's Josh Christman right aboard as you'll see that side-by-side fight. Brent McClendon now falling to the bottom range of the top 20. It looked like he had a shot to go further in the top 15, but hasn't worked out as well in these last few laps. Instead, he's dropped a little bit further behind. Not detrimental to his cause just yet. However, McClendon is losing time, and it looks like Josh Christman in that 88 is indeed faster. Almost contact there. The 88, in fact, backs off. 30 laps remaining. Jack Drucker to the inside now. Liberally peels out on Michael Stroll. Rucker at the line for 7th place, 8th for Michael Stroll, 9th for Elliott Henderson. Three-tenths of a second between Lane now and Madalenas. And Ethan is still riding the wake of the lapped car, Blake Cannon. It looks like right now Ethan Lane has hit cruise control and there's not a driver that can keep up with him even in that state. Such is the remarkable nature of the number 6 team. Even maybe when he's not full pushing, he is one of the best drivers full on. Now looking to pass. 7. Lane looks side by side, but instead falls back in line. The 27 still keeps control. It is perhaps most surprising that the lapper in Cannon has been the regulator of what we've seen so far. Not often is that the case. The driver who is off of the lead lap is not only allowed, but of course is clearly up and in front, making this happen. Still, it's worked so far. Then Lane, Blake Cannon right with each other, 27 laps to go. No one else, Ward, Tarbuck, Ackley and company, have been able to get there. Ackley is coming up, however, on Nicholas Ward, and it is now a gap of only about 1/10 of a second at the very most. Michael Stroll peels out to go 3 wide. One's got to give. It looks like it's going to be Ackley. Ward drifting. Major save from the 97. That's going to bundle everyone up. But a wonderful save from Nicholas Ward. And a hard-fought drive for this Ward team. Not going to come to an end with contact as he fends off Michael Stroll. 25 laps remaining. And an exciting moment that keeps these drivers on their toes. It's going to be toe-to-toe now between Rob Ackley and Jack Drucker, in fact. And then just behind, we'll have Jared Davis and Elliott Henderson. 176 laps in, Ethan Lane, while he is behind Blake Cannon, this is no longer for position, and instead, he's towing it out to the very end. Now the field comes to 22 laps remaining. Next time by in our longest intermediate race of the season. And as always, Whiplash SimCams has the camera angles covered with iRacing's newest up-to-date camera groupings for every track and every car on the market. No better place to go for your broadcast camera setup than Whiplash SimCams. Visit their social media platforms to find out more about sample packages and how you can purchase yours today. $5 per track, per car, no licensing fee necessary. With 22 laps to go this time by, it's about time that we crank it up from America's home for racing. 22 laps to go, brought to you by Whiplash SimCams. Let's get loud from the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Ethan Lane at the helm. Hunter Madalenis is there on Ethan Lane, and it's clear as day now. The battle for the race lead is far from cruise control. In fact, it looks like Madalenis might have an advantage over the last few laps. Hunter, in that 0-7, has traced the 6 car of Lane. The gap is now within 1/10 of a second. 16 laps to go, and we come across the line, and these are the ones that matter. Still with the advantage, he's trying desperately to get away from Blake Cannon, but Blake has been faster by virtue of that new rubber. That has been everything so far for Ethan Lane. Blake Cannon again has newer tire. So the advantage that Lane held so well before, he no longer does. Cannon is right ahead of him, and even if there is no animosity, you can see, down to the inside. Lane goes all the way into the Roval section, puts it back together, and a dicey exit out of 4 brings Madalenis a shot to the race lead. Unbelievably, Lane doesn't have the damage to give up, and they're side by side. Hunter Madalenis with an amazing opportunity for that number 07 team, but Lane does not quit around the outside. He'll barely have the advantage coming to the line. 14 laps to go. It's all tied up. Madalenis looking low. Lane in the middle. And to think he's only taken a lap to recover, and he is back ahead of Madalenis. That is unbelievable, but that shows the level of driver Lane is to keep that rookie at bay. It's the second consecutive week they're battling directly against each other. And Madalenis has shown again that there's really levels to the type of talent they both possess. And we mentioned that difference between experience and the difference between capabilities. It isn't always about the big pace differences, but it's about those small things that if a driver gets them right, are going to be in an amazing position. Lane has gotten so good at the subtleties of the racing. Madalenis has undeniably proven one of the better drivers in this field in his very limited time around. Lane has proven that even when he is faced against utmost adversity, has what it takes to overcome it. "11 laps to go this time by. Blake Cannon still leading these top 2 drivers. Matthew Thunhorst, toe-to-toe. Michael Stroll here. Take a look off the back end of the 8 and you'll see Thunhorst is in a fierce fight for this top 5 placement. A position that could prove critical in the championship race, as Bresci has one of his worst nights on record this season. And a bad night for the 24 while his teammate, second in the championship, runs inside the top 5. It's not game over, but it really does keep things as close as it needs to be. The 8 team of Thunhorst anyway, this is everything. 10 laps to go. Madalenis back in front. Now the 07 trying to handle it through 3 and 4 and keep the edge. Ethan Lane slightly in the wall there, and it looks like now Madalenis pushing 4th. Slightly cleaner rubber and a little bit less wear and tear gives Madalenis the chance to break out. Gets by Blake Cannon. Might be all for naught for Ethan Lane. Hunter to the inside. Leading Lane now by several car lengths. Coming off of those final corners, Ethan Lane is trying everything. You can see he is using every inch. He's gotten up to the outside wall. He's even scraped it a time or two. I think it goes to show that's about all he's got in the engine. Hunter Madalenis starting to pull away, and fast. That's 0.3 of a second in this past lap. Might be even further next time by. Lane up to the high side. And not at all with the momentum to get up there. 7 laps remaining. Hunter Madalenis. Now further ahead, Will Reichert stalled on the racetrack. The caution's out. Unbelievable. And it looks like it's going to be less than a 5-lap shootout, as Reichert is dead stopped on the racing circuit, and I don't know why. Well, there's a reason. Dylan Poteet here. Now we're taking a look back to show you. Poteet in the 31 is destroyed. And it looks like that could be a race ender. Watch what happens now with Poteet as he was with Brent McClendon just prior to the wreckage. Loose off Wetmore. Hooked by McClendon. And Poteet's 31 is decimated. The caution is out. 6 laps to go. Dylan is on pit road. Going to be one of the shortest shootouts we've had all season now. Green to finish it. Field heads down a pit road for what is now the most important pit stop cycle of the night. Watch what happens as everyone's in. Madalenis came in with a 1-position advantage, but it's anyone's game now as we expect to see less than 5 laps of green flag racing from here. Madalenis on the way. Ethan Lane far and ahead of him. That's going to give the 6 the advantage again. So Lane now going to have multiple positions up on the 07 of Hunter Madalenis. And this is it. It'll be Davis, Durham, holdouts. Then you'll have Ethan Lane, Matthew Thunhorst, Nicholas Ward, Hunter Madalenis, 1, 2, 3, 4, in that order. We are set to go green with just 3 laps remaining. When we return to green, this will not count as an overtime attempt. Still have 3 of those in our back pocket. In case they're absolutely necessary. Nevertheless, for Ethan Lane, he's got himself a much better position to run away. He's been the best on the restarts. Almost every single one of which gotten so much time up in front for them that it isn't much of a surprise he knows how to get that bolt start. Guarantees him per hand. Now, it's that upper hand that will mean everything as he goes head-to-head with Jared Davis here. Jared Davis, your control car. Ethan Lane, the dominant man who has been leading the majority of the night. And just a few rows back, Hunter Madalenis, who seemed to be en route to a surefire victory just moments ago. This could be it. 3 laps remaining on the inside line. Jared Davis gets it going, just about dead even with Ethan Lane. Loose, Nicholas Ward, but the field keeps going. It's going to be green flag conditions. Thunor's loose, so is Smith. We're back underway. Lane surging high. Yellow flag's out. We are going to overtime, and that was as quick as it came. Take a look back and you'll see the full replay. Mid-plaque immediately implodes. As quickly as we got things started, we slowed down. Bolted into motion. It's double file. You see Cody Smith there. You see contact. That's Tom Wetmore and Michael Stroll. And up the track for the Wetmore machine. Then into Vinnie Tigner. That's the yellow flag. We'll explain our overtime rules and regulations right after this. You're watching live on FTN Broadcasting. And before we say goodnight, got one final message from our friends at iRacing.com. We're heading to overtime past the 300-mile mark. We'll return right after this. The most important laps are just ahead, so grab your popcorn and stay tuned. We're going to settle this thing after dark.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Double file. We get back to work next time around. Ethan Lane will lead the first of 3 restart attempts we have in our back pocket. If any other yellow flags fly from this point onward, we'll head to restart attempt number 2 in this overtime procedure. Get to the white flag. This race is official. Now, at lap 201, our ending lap will be 203. While slight, this extension will be everything for your top 2 drivers in Lane and Madalenas. Ethan Lane on the night has led just over 100 laps. Hunter Madalenas has led last 25 more than anyone else. And now they're together again. Hunter, who looked to be only just 5 laps away, surefire victory, is now at odds again with the whole field. And in this final 3-mile run, we are about to find out who has what it takes to go for the win here. Is it the dominating veteran of Ethan Lane, or is it the new coming presence of Hunter Madalenas, who, both of which this season, have affirmed their presence as some of the best in the business. Green flag will fly for the number 6 of Ethan Lane. He's got the jump of a car length. Rewind, Jared Davis just behind. It looks like we're going to double overtime as soon as we get the ball rolling. Second OT coming right up. Watching what happened from the back end of this start. Like again, jittery nerves from the back end up. Causing some big problems. Stevenson in the wall, Casey Shue, Thomas Bressy, Daniel Foss, and Tom Wetmore again. Bressy involved in an incident. Second overtime attempt coming your way. One more attempt remains. That will be immediately after this one, if the caution occurs. If we remain under green, race is official. Any other cautions bring us to our final overtime attempt. Lane got off the line well, but it doesn't appear that means all too much. Field is at the mercy of the back end. We'll be going past lap 205 tonight. Looks like that means we'll have more than 310 miles on our 300-mile scheduled race. Matthew Thunhorst in third. Back to the highest spot he's running all night long. Matt Ellenison Lane still set to duel directly. They might just be the favorites for this battle, but it still could go anyway in the top 5. Remember, of course, last year it was a last lap wreck which determined who ended up on the podium. Drivers spinning around backwards made it in. One lap to green. New finishing lap is 2:07. Still in the top 10 includes Cody Smith now, 10th and last of which in the Next Level Racing Chevrolet. Tyler Hensley hanging on well beside him. Gael Brooks having one of his best races of the season. Up here scored 13th last time by. Of course, all eyes remain on Lane, who decides to take it topside here. Hunter Madalenis has it low. In a moment just like this, a restart could be the difference, victory and defeat. Whoever gets the jump off the line here is the clear-cut advantage to come home with a race victory. And it's going to be Ethan Lane by a car length and then some. Green flags out. 2 laps remaining. Lane gets moving. Double overtime has begun. Hunter Maddalena surges down the back straightaway and into turn 3. He is as close as he needs to be to take it to the inside. Lane cannot block him. It's 2 by 2, but no longer as Hunter Maddalena gets ahead. Lane in the wall. 1 lap remaining. White flag flies. A wreck behind. It does not matter. We'll race to the end. The field is eviscerated further back, but Lane getting in the wall out of turn 4 is race over for the 6. Rucker now plowing as hard as he can into turn 3 to take the win away from Maddalenas. He'll get blocked big, and the 07 will stand for none of it. Maddalenas, the rookie, hangs on and defies odds, taking home victory in the Mini Coke 300. His second win of the season at an intermediate track. His third of the year overall. In our longest race of the season, Hunter Maddalenas outdoes the best of them. Maddalenas, Drucker, Lane. 1, 2, 3. That was your podium at the end of the night. Even as Ethan Lane got the jump off the restart he needed, Maddalenas matched him and bested him. Of course, besting him in that white flag lap. Hunter now due to celebrate. Hunter Maddalenas is a race winner again. He'll get the job done over Jack Drucker while leading only 14 laps to Ethan Lane's 130. Then from there, Matthew Thunhorst, Nick Tarbuck, Tyler Hensley, Rob Ackley, Nicholas Ward, Blake Cannon, Al Brooks on the top. Jacob Fife finishes 11th with Justin Morton 12th, Vinny Tigner 13th, Josh Gallagher 14th, Thomas Bresci P15, 16th for Brandon Burns. 17th goes Don Stevenson, and Tom Wetmore is 18th with Elliott Henderson P19 and Jared Davis rounding out the top 20. On back, Casey Shue, Ryan Potter, Josh Christman, Smith, Michael Stroll, Will Reichard, Daniel Foss, Brant McClendon, Dylan Poteet on debut, and Steve Durham. Finish out the night, Andrew Schaub, Al Filarski, Seb Miller, Michael Araya, Cooper, Ronnie Osmer, and Daco Parker 37th, 38th, 39th, and 40th. Edo Logan McFerrin with Adam Wood, Blake Gordon, Braxton DeWeese, and Andrew Hamilton. Final of your 45 on the field tonight. While only coming to his own late in this race, Hunter Madalenas did with those 14 laps what needed to be done and got the 07 team back to victory for the third time this season. Coming so close against Ethan Lane last week, how about that redemption for the 07 team, Hunter?
Yeah, man, felt great after a long race like that to, end up in victory lane. Yeah, that distance was quite difficult, but, we were able to hang with it for the entire night.
And you mentioned longest ever race now in the Integrity Racing League, much longer than any of other intermediates on the season. How was it for you working out that distance as a challenge?
Yeah, qualified all right, top 15 qualifying. So, it wasn't too high expectations going into the race, but on one of those restarts that Cannon stayed out, it caused a stack up. I got, there was a huge checkup in front of me. I got into the guy in front of me. Elliott got into the back of me. We talked about it, and, it wasn't something that he could see either. It was just a massive checkup. I got damage from that, went all the way back to 42nd on that first long run that we had. Drove from 42nd all the way up to, I believe it was 12th before that caution came out. And, every step of that way after that was, I was slowly moving up positions. I could see that I had a really, really fast long run car. So I knew if that final run went a little bit longer that, I would have a chance at it.
And of course, that final run with 5 laps to go, coming to an end and a double restart finish. So how did you adapt to even take the race lead back? Pit road didn't go your way.
Oh man, I thought it was gone. I finally got around Ethan. That caution came out with 5 to go. So, I was upset in my mind because, I've been in situations where I've led when the caution comes out with 5 to go, and, I finished 15th, 20th, because you got guys that do exactly that. Guys took 2, guys took 4. We lined up on that first restart, and I think just absolutely everything went our way. I forgot who it was that restarted 4th on that first restart, but he spun the tires. Fun Horse didn't get too great of a start either, so I was able to, jump to the outside of him after we crossed the start finish line, pinched him down into Davis, so he had to stay behind Davis into 1 and 2, and then, we were off to in second when the caution came out, so I knew after that, we were set up good.
And it all came down to late race precision, getting that shot and passing Ethan Lane. 3rd win on the season now as we head into our Memorial Day break. A little bit of time to reset and regroup as you now are tied the lead, or the Ignite Series lead anyway, in victories. Our next race is the Phoenix Raceway anyhow, another oval, different type however. How do you feel about what's up next for the 07 team?
Yeah, feel really good. I'm taking this off week, get to go down to, Charlotte in real life, so I'll get to watch those real life guys race all weekend. But yeah, it feels good to have an off week with the win. You sit on a high all the way up until we get to the Phoenix in the next race. But I'm with the run we've been on, 3 wins on really 3 different types of tracks: a road course, a short track, and a intermediate 1.5 miles. Makes me start to think I could have a real shot as a championship contender.
Versatility matters big time in terms of making a successful championship run. Madalenas proving so again, longest race this season, and the rookie takes it. Any final comments you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, just thanks to everyone at Ignite. I want to give a shout out to Ethan. He deserved that race 110% more than I did. It was unfortunate with the netcode contact, but for the events that happened after that on that run, he didn't deserve all that, and so he 100% deserved that win, but unfortunately he didn't get it.
Hunter Madalenas, in the endurance test of the season, comes away victorious. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, David.
Hunter Madalenas on the move. We'll now speak to your second place finisher, who seems to do a pretty good job of these crown jewel races, of course. Winning at Daytona and coming perhaps as a surprise second-place finisher, Jack Drucker, 89 thousandths was the difference between you and a victory in double overtime.
Yes, it was. Unfortunately, it was. But congrats to Hunter. I know Ethan, I feel really bad for him because he had to deal with some stuff throughout the last quarter of that race that he really probably shouldn't have. But, yeah, I mean, what can I say? P2 is probably the most complete race I've run all season. I mean, I know Daytona was a win and had a good top 10 streak going on here lately, but qualified good, ran up front all day. I really can't be upset with that. And, again, congrats to Hunter because I gave him a run for his money into 3. I tried, but I wasn't going to move him for it. So congrats to him. And again, Ethan, sorry for what happened.
And you mentioned, of course, that for this number 56 team, you had yourself great speed from the beginning, capitalizing by qualifying inside the top 10. And we did see the track change quite a bit from day to night. Were there any significant impacts to how you approached the circuit as the race went on?
The top definitely came in. I feel like as the night went on, the lights came up, the pace picked up a ton. But I got to give a shout out to my friend Sabatino Damasio. He gave us a F-16 Falcon scheme for tonight. And I tell you what, that thing was flying on the top. Absolutely fantastic car. Had the middle lane working, I think, better than most. It was hard to complete passes when guys got on the outside because you really had to roll the center to have a chance on exit. But tried to race clean all night and have a good finish. And like I said, I can't be mad at P2.
Keeping up with what has been a very solid season so far, coming into today, third in the championship standings and definitely able to gain ground on title leader Thomas Bressi with a performance like this. All eyes maybe on getting back to the victory once again. Phoenix up next on the calendar after our week break off. How are you feeling now pulling the speed back together and putting together one of your most complete races, in fact?
It feels fantastic because, I mean, you know it as well as I do. This league is quality talent. There's a lot of fast guys here, a lot of smart guys here. It's hard to run at the front. And to be honest, coming into this season, I didn't think I was going to have a playoff chance out of winning 101 Daytona. I'm like, oh my God, we're in. But, here in P3 in the championship, it's a lot of validation because coming into a league like this as a rookie, it's a tough thing to do. But I'm proud of where I'm at.
Jack Drucker, once again, up at the top of the game, and these crown jewel races have gone your way so far with that 56 car. Second place on the night. Jack, anything else you'd like to add?
Hope you have a good night. I know everybody's had a real long one. I hope next week we'll have a happy Memorial Day weekend.
Jack Drucker, P2 from 6th on the qualifying grid. Thank you one more time for stopping by.
Thanks so much.
Final driver of the night, Ethan Lane, a man who led the most on the day, and you could see as the race went on, and you look right now, he was dealing with quite the difficulty in trying to lead as he was caught off from both sides. Sandwiched for the majority of that final quarter. Lane, you led 130 laps. It was toe-to-toe between you and Matt Alenis again, but this time the 07 team was the winner of the battle.
Yeah, I truly don't know what to say. Really, really livid right now that we lost a race like that. Yeah, I don't want to say anything that's gonna get me in trouble, so I'll keep my mouth shut on that. But really good run, really good race. We had pace tonight, and even when the track got tight, we still had pace. And I hate losing races like that. That was absolutely chicken. You know what? It was not warranted at all. But yeah, P3 is not bad. Should have had 2 in a row here. Should have had 3 wins in a row, or 4 wins in a row between both nights. Past 2 weeks, and should be going for 5 tomorrow. But it is what it is. We'll pack our stuff up tonight, get some sleep, go to work, come back, and do what we did tonight, but get 2 spots better.
Now, night came down to a lot of short runs, which I figure maybe not the best for this 6 team, which seemed to excel in the long runs, and then you saw those blips back and forth. How important was it for you managing restarts, many of which you had control of?
Oh, it was big. I knew clean air was gonna be big if we and then once we got past Hunter that last run, I knew we could manage it, but other stuff just happened, and we lost on that last run. Took 2 tires because I thought a lot more people would, and it just didn't work out for us.
Now, putting what are the lower light races of the last few weeks filled with success behind you, Ethan. Not only do we got that race tomorrow, doing it all over again at Charlotte, but our next race on the Ignite schedule, which will be you're making waves and putting yourself back up higher in the points picture. What's the next goal now for the 6 team?
Absolutely dominate every single race from here on out. After tonight, I felt like we proved something that we are going to be forced to be reckoned with for this championship. So we'll take 2 weeks off from the series, or a week off from the B car, and put our heads down for Phoenix and go to town.
While sitting dormant for the opening portion of this championship race, the 6 team is coming alive. 3rd place today, Ethan Lane. Anything else you'd like to add?
Thanks to everyone who races clean. It's fun when you have it. Unfortunately, we didn't get many green flag runs tonight. Unfortunate, especially in the longest race of the season. You'd think you'd expect more, but it is what it is. So, yeah, thanks to everyone. Thanks to you for putting on these races. Thanks to the admins putting on this league. It can be fun when it is, but yeah, we'll see y'all in 2 weeks.
Ethan Lane coming home tonight, 3rd place on the day, leading 130 laps in the process. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.
What a long haul tonight was. You've gotten a word from 3rd place Ethan Lane, 2nd place Jack Drucker, and Hunter Madalenas, your podium drivers here from Charlotte. A night of long, hard racing comes to a close. Hunter wins his 3rd race on the calendar. Double overtime. Now, we'll be back tomorrow live on FTN for another 300-mile feature. That'll be at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and we'll return on June 2nd with coverage from the Phoenix Raceway as the Ignite Series returns as well. Till then, you've been watching live on FTN Broadcasting coverage of the Mini Coke 300. I've been your host, David Kreutz. Thank you for tuning in tonight, and if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel. Congratulations to Hunter Madalenas on his 3rd win of the season. We'll see you tomorrow with the Octane Series, and we hope you have a fantastic night.